Hi everyone, my name's Nathan Royce. I'm a creative strategist here at Facebook. I work on a team called the Creative Shop, and we're here to inspire, provoke, and serve our most trusted partners and build meaningful connections between business and people. You might be asking yourself, well, what does Creative Shop do? Well, let's take a look. So what do we mean by creative? Well, when you take a look at some of the older forms of media like print and other things that we're familiar with like television commercials, you might think of brands like Coca-Cola and great, coupons that you like to cut out of magazines. Well, it's not so different because we still think about creative and advertising on Facebook the same way, but we think about it in terms of newsfeed, right? Because the mobile platform is quite different than the traditional forms. It's still incredible business moving content, but it actually moves people through the newsfeed as opposed to TV screens and pages of a newspaper or magazine. And so when you take a look and think about, what does great creative do on Facebook? When you look at, companies that actually built great creative, they make them think, it makes them feel, and it makes them do something, right? It makes them take an action and actually go ahead and take either subscribe or be able to purchase something. Whatever that business goal is, Facebook's able to help do that in a very great way. So, what does good creative on Facebook do? It does the same. It makes us think, feel, and do. It's just on a much more relevant and much more personal level than a lot of our other platforms. And so when we want to think about something, here's a great example of how we do that. Great creative also makes you feel something. It's visceral.
Good job.
And of course, great advertising gets people to take an action. It gets them to do something. And technology has really changed the way that people are thinking about advertising and consuming advertising. It's changing the way we think, we feel, and we do. And we're helping to actually pave that way. We're helping to change the way that we develop content based on the changes and the behaviors. And if you look at some classic advertisements like this one from Budweiser, it's classic and it's print, but let's take a look at what Budweiser looks like today. So when you think about original television content, it looks something like this. It's a bit slower moving, you have more time to actually create a pace of a story. It's a longer format, it's designed for traditional screens, and it's not that it doesn't work, but when we think about how it works on Facebook, it takes a different form. So perhaps a spot like this, translated into Facebook, might look something like this. And it's not only that it's fun, it's not only that it looks great, it actually moves business goals. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're here to make great creative, but if the creative isn't moving the business, then we're not successful. And as you can see here, it's optimized for mobile, it's 20 seconds, and it's moving business by 17%. And the square format campaign, actually the completion rate was 35% higher than on TVCs. And then you think about the traditional forms of advertising like brochures, right? A travel catalog. How many times have we, gotten that travel catalog in the mail and you turn a page and then you're wondering what else you should do with it? It makes you think and feel, but doesn't allow you to do anything. The great thing about Facebook is that we actually have products that allow you to not just think and feel something, but actually help you do something as well. So you take a look at our Canvas product on Facebook. We can now take a traditional travel brochure and you can now thumb through it. You can choose your own adventure, quite literally. And you're able to then book a trip right from our actual ad. So why is creative so important to our clients? Why should they be leaning into this? And we ask that question of ourselves too, and we've worked a long time to try to find answers. One of the first things is to build a brand. Right? So even short form video that's mobile first can build brands. It doesn't have to be a big TV spot in order to really build a brand and to allow people to understand what it means to people. What does a brand stand for? What can it do for me in my life? And you look at this from, a taxi service, and you can actually, get a 6+ ad recall versus not having to run something on TV, but you can actually run it in the most personal places that people have, which is their phone in their hand. Or your business challenge might be to shift perception, perhaps. Well, we can do that in Instagram stories as well, even shorter form, vertical video built for mobile. It's 15 seconds. It also got a +6 ad recall to it. Or, maybe your challenge is to drive performance. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. DR marketing is very deep. So perhaps you want to just use basic motion to drive performance in this first one here, where you can actually use some art direction and some animation and some sight, sound, and motion to help create that awareness and get people to stop their thumbs in their tracks and actually pay attention. Or you could use, brand in motion. There's all different types of ways to do this. So why is creative important to you? Well, because Zuck thinks it's important, for number one. Advertising in Facebook should be just as compelling as other people's content in newsfeed. In fact, if you think about it, businesses aren't really competing against other businesses on Facebook. They're actually competing against our best friends, our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, our siblings. That's who businesses are actually competing against for attention on Facebook. So we need to design for such, and we need to take the ability to matter. Say something that matters to more than just a sales pitch, something that's more than just a business opportunity. It's something that delights, inspires, or improves our life in some way. And if you take this example from Old Spice, the other thing you should do is we're trying to shift marketing budgets from the traditional forms of media, such as television, and actually move it into mobile. And the reason why we're trying to do that is, from what we found, we've actually been able to move business when brands lean in and do this. You can see here that even though you take this television commercial on the left, it converts to mobile on the right, but you're able to see that this still moves business. And then Disney, it could even solidify a partnership. So a company that didn't really perhaps take our platforms as serious as they should be, Now you're able to actually develop a manufacturing system, a creative process with them in which they produce many pieces of creative over time with us and moving their business. The more creative we create with them and the more we move their business, the more they invest. And, brands tend to spend more. And so, even if you look at this ad, when we actually do something with sight, sound, and emotion, what we get back is a higher percentage of moving the business as well as being able to generate that investment for the next round. So how does Creative Shop work? Well, we work in 4 different areas. We work in original ideas, we also work in co-creation, we work in consulting and learning. So building bespoke ideas with our platforms at top of mind. This is when we actually work with brands and agencies and we take something from nothing to actually developing a strategy and a concept around their creative. And then there's co-creation where we actually partner with the brands, the agencies and studios to actually create something together. And then there's consulting. So in some forms of business, we actually consult and we give our best advice based on our learnings and data that shows how other businesses have moved their industry on Facebook. And then learning. The most important thing for our knowledge economy is creating collaborative programs to learn new strategic ways of thinking. So you might be asking, well, how do I work with Creative Shop? How do I get a hold of you? Well, the first thing you do is align with a regional or a vertical priority. So what you do here is actually find a business case. Why are we doing this? The next one is to get educated. So actually learn about the challenge and if we should be doing this. And number 3, we start talking, right? Collaboration is one of the best ways to find out where the opportunity is and how to proceed. And then of course we identify the creative opportunity from that. So once we have a creative opportunity, then we can actually go register and for a request and actually fill out a form that allows us to begin working together. But once we have the reason why, then we can figure out how we're going to work together on it. So say hello to our version of office hours here at Creative Shop. Pop-up shops, where we can actually drop into a local session where Creative Shop provides light touch consulting on all things creative. And here's some other creative resources. We also have a creative hub where you can create mock-ups with any of your products. We have a Creative Shop training field where you can, it's a learning path that empowers sales to have effective creative results. There's the Creative Shop on the GMS Hub where you can also go find resources and access marketing materials. And then there's Ad Hoc, so we can actually surface ads quickly across Facebook, Instagram, and Audience Network. And then we have Lynda to learn a new program or a new skill. So ultimately, Creative Shop exists to move businesses' challenges through great creative strategy. But Facebook means a little bit more. Facebook's not just a sales pitch. It's not just a place to sell stuff. Because the people that matter most to us and mean most to us in our lives are on it, we have the unique responsibility to create something that goes beyond just a sales pitch. Something that creates a relationship based on commerce and common ground. Because what we found is where art, science, and people intersect, that's where great commerce happens. So thanks everyone for listening today, and we hope to see you at Creative Shop real soon.